before we go into this list. You might have a man or woman looking at a situation. Maybe their son turns out to be a cannibal. And the dad is just saying, you're no son of mine. No son of mine is going to be a cannibal. I excommunicate you. I disown you. You need to be put to death. You're like an animal, a creature. But that little cannibal is still somebody's little boy, right? He's still got a mother. And I could pretty much guarantee you his mother's still going to love him. Jeffrey Dahmer's mother loved him to the end. Even though he did really horrendous, atrocious things, he was still her little boy, even though he ate people. And she loved him and cared about him and wanted the best for him. But for males, I don't know if it's how we're wired, if it's biological, or the way we're raised or nurtured, the way we're brought up and taught to behave and suppress our emotions and things like that. Or maybe it's not like that anymore. That's how it was when I was growing up, but maybe you guys are allowed to cry now. I don't know. Can you? No crying? Still no crying? But I don't know. We look at it more in terms of black and right or wrong, these sorts of things. Where the care issue, it's more like there's more than right and wrong at stake. There's relationship. It's not just about did you complete the categorical imperative correctly, or are you following your rights and natural law theory? It's like you're my son, or you're my partner, or you're a member of my family, or a member of my tribe, or clan, or church, or these sorts of things. So that counts for something. It's not just about justice or right or wrong. It's also about relationship. Okay, so with that little primer, so far we haven't had any of that. And if you've noticed, a lot of my critiques on these theories are they seem unlivable or kind of ugly because there's no mercy, there's no forgiveness. And so let me prime it one more time. Mercy would be a feminine virtue. And Victor, what's the opposite of mercy?
No mercy.
Good. Justice. All right, there you go. Give it to me.
Reason would be masculine.
And what is the feminine counter virtue to reason? Is emotion a virtue?
Some people it is.
I guess it might be nice to be able to feel. Good start. Next. They'll be like antonyms. So if you get one, you got the other. So. Yes. Do you guys know people from the other gender? Do you guys know your own gender? Do you know your own strengths or weaknesses? Yes?
Leader and follower.
Or if you think it's a higher, you could say supporter or something like that. And these, once again, I'm not saying this is for all men or women, but we're talking about cultural norms or stereotypes. Okay, that's what we're talking about. It's not that there may be one or two emotional men out there somewhere that we just can't find. Or, there might be some women that are fine leaders. Yes?
Men are more, or women are more personal, and men want to kind of keep things in more.
You could say social. could say task-oriented.
Prideful and humble.
Men.
Men for
Strength and gentle.
Yeah, and that's a great example. I mean, if we talk about a category that probably crosses over, like both men and women show love, but they probably show it in really different ways. I mean, you've seen like C.S. Lewis's love languages and all that sort of thing, like how different people or temperament types show love. Well, different genders show love in different ways too. I always thought growing up that only my mother loved us because my dad was just such a stereotype of this left-hand column. It was all about right and wrong, black and white. He was the authoritarian. He was the leader. He made the rules. He was the king of the castle. And we just basically did what he said. And if we stepped out of line, he'd help us get back into line quickly. And my mom was the comforter, the nurturer. She'd cry with you. She'd engage with you. She was relational with you. So I knew my mother on a much more, she was kind of like my protector, defender, advisor, intermediary, buffer between me and my father if I needed protection. So I always just felt that kind of love for my mother. In fact, I still remember the first day that I consciously realized I loved my mother. I think I was in kindergarten. I had gone off to school. And at school, I had to go to the bathroom. I never had to go to the bathroom at school before. It was a new experience for me. And I was just a little country kid. And I asked the other kids, where do you go to the bathroom? And they said, oh, you just go in the bushes. And I was like, cool. So I went to the bathroom. And then they all went and ran and told the playground attendant that I went to the bathroom in the playground. And so I got taken to the principal. And then an hour later, after something about Adam and Eve in the garden and nakedness and dead animal skins and I don't know what else what, I went home crying. And my mother says, I guess you had an interesting day today. Victor, you're making it really hard for me. Victor, up here, please. Okay? Thanks. So anyways, I'm coming home from school, and my mother meets me in the driveway, and she says, I guess you had an interesting day at school today. But she said, I don't think we need to tell your dad about it. And that's when I knew she loved me. And I loved her. It wasn't until I had people I was responsible for myself much later in life that I realized how much my dad loved me. Because he always provided for us. He always protected us. I never went to bed hungry. I always had shoes on my feet, a roof over my head. I didn't worry about someone coming and taking me in the middle of the night, things like that. So he was protecting and loving me on a whole different level that simply as a child, I couldn't see it. I couldn't see the connection. But now I realize he loved me every bit as much as my mother. It was just manifest in really different ways.